Welcome to the Say Hey podcast, the San Francisco Giants podcast for the casual fan. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Say Hey Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Say Hey Doug and Robbie on Twitter at Say Hey Rob. Also, don't forget on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and YouTube, make sure you're subscribed and following on those so you get updates whenever a new episode is out, like this one will be tonight. Rob, how's it going?
Oh, man, I mean, outside of our San Francisco Giants, life is good right now. I mean, it's hot, but you know what? We all have our health for the most part. And, you know, there's silver linings wherever you look. And lately, I'm just trying to find the silver linings. Like, there's a lot of sports on. The NBA playoffs started today. There's some good stuff going on. And I don't know. I'm just trying to dance around our Giants right now, but trying to avoid it as long as I can. But I know that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
I want to know why you put in the weather into the good category there, because it's been averaging about 104 the last 3 or 4 days, and the next 3 or 4 days and beyond, it's going to be the same. So
it's not good, but we're all still alive right now, and you know we are kicking. And I know people with pools, so it's
true.
You know, there's positives wherever you look, no matter how bad it might really be, is what I'm saying.
I hate the heat. So I'm dying right now, and I've had to, because of what's going on, I've had to kind of change my job duties at work. So I've been outside a lot. So, you know, I'm pretty tired and dead when I get home. This weather's killing me, man. It's killing me.
Yeah, see, that's the only good thing about, you know, being a sales rep is you go in a lot of different stores, and
you're inside that AC, yeah.
The AC's blasting all day, but yeah, like I gotta imagine, being out there right now has got to be the shits.
Yeah, it's not fun. And speaking of not fun, our San Francisco Giants. So what we're gonna do usually, you know, this is our 6th episode already, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
6th episode. We usually, you know, recap the previous series that just happened, preview what's starting either, you know, the current day or the next day. But we're going to do a little something different. And before we get into anything, obviously the Giants just lost 2 or 3 in Houston. We took a couple of days off. Robbie and I had some busy schedules, so we weren't really able to recap the Astros series. Giants lost 2 or 3 in Houston, then came back home and got swept by their glorious rivals from across the bay, the Oakland A's. Should have won 2, at least. The first 2 the Giants had. Bullpen, not so great. And then yesterday, lost by 12 runs, 15-3. Rob, any thoughts on that 3-game horror shit show over the weekend?
Well, before we get going on that, I got to ask you a simple question. Would you rather get blown out, or would you rather lose by 1 run in the 9th?
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because, and in case you're new to this, Rob and I have been friends since kindergarten, so we know a lot about each other, and I think we share the same sentiment of I'd rather get blown out of the water than blow a 5-run lead and a 4-run lead in the last inning, especially one where there's 2 outs and 2 strikes, and you give up a game-tying 3-run homer.
Hard to do.
Much rather get blown out. I've always felt that. Any sport, basketball, get beat by 30 rather than, you know, you're up 30 and then, you know, lose at the last minute or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I absolutely feel that way.
But yeah, I mean, tough weekend all around. But you know, we're gonna get into this later. I think we all kind of have to look at the season the way we saw it before it got going. This is on paper, this is an awful baseball team, and sometimes you got to meet them halfway. Like, when awful things happen, you have to remind yourself of that. I mean, I know we love to get disappointed because, hey, and you know what? It's going to sound crazy, but it's good that we're feeling disappointed, because that means we're at least somewhat invested in these games still at this point. I mean, we're over a third of the way in now. So, I mean, the fact that we're bummed when they blow games is, you know, they must be keeping our attention in some capacity. But, yeah, they're awful, though. We know that, and we got to remember that.
I'll say this. I'm sure the majority of Giants fans feel this way. The expectations going into the season, it could have been a regular season with 162. They were low.
Thank God it's not.
Yeah. But, going into even after losing 3 of 4 in Colorado and losing 2 of 3 in Houston, going into Friday when the Giants were starting a series against the A's, I personally still felt that these guys are like doing even a little bit better than what I was expecting, especially the lineup. And we'll get into it in a minute, but I mean, they should have won 2 or 3. They could easily be, what are they, 8-15 right now? They could be 10-13 easy right now. And if you were to tell me they'd be 10-13 after 23 games, I'd have been like, I'll take it. Because
I would have said no way.
Yeah, and well, now they're 8-15. I'd be like, yeah,
I still would have said no way.
Probably right about 6, 7, 8 wins through
6.
23 games for me.
6.
Yeah, so pretty close that we agree with. But anyways, the main point of our episode, what we're gonna do is called and I'm doing quotes here on the camera, the State of the Union. Okay, and we felt like it was time to kind of look at the Giants organization from top to bottom. And really go into what's going on roster-wise, managerial-wise, front office-wise, and because we've been seeing a lot of criticism, especially regarding Gabe Kapler and Farhan on Twitter, and we kind of wanted to give our point of view on that. And also after that, we're going to go in on the roster and kind of talk about possible – not specific moves or anything, but what we feel the Giants should do with their current guys and moving forward for the rest of this year and beyond. So before we get going, Rob, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the thing that we can look at right now, coming into the year with not really much of a spring training, I guess we should say. They're hitting the ball exceptionally well with just kind of dudes on one year deals. You got your Wilmer Flores of the world and Darren Ruff and guys like that, and Alex Dickerson. Yaz. I mean, these guys. I hate to break it to people, but most of those guys right there, I mean, they are part of the future. So there's not a big reason to get too excited or too up in arms about anything that they do. That's just the way it is. And coming into the year, I think we all understood that this team is gonna be bad. Gabe Kapler pretty much has. I mean, I was giving him a free pass on the whole year coming in because there's just no way.
It's a weird year.
Yeah, especially with even before all the COVID-19 stuff and all that. Even before that, I mean, talk about a roster of just holes and guys. Okay, well, we got to put out a team, so okay, here we go. Like I said, guys like Ruff, who's been over in Asia the last couple of years, and Flores, who hurt himself playing for the Mets a couple years ago, never really recovered, and Yaz, who's barely younger than me, journeyman who's trying to cover off the ball, and credit to him. But you got your Belts and your Pablo Sandovals and Crawfords and Johnny Cuetos and Samardzijas, and basically those guys are gonna hold down this franchise for a while. That's just how it's gonna be because there's nothing they can do with them, except for a guy like Pence. Like we can get into that later. Like he shouldn't be here. But guys like Crawford and Belt, like those are guys, and Samardzija, they are anchors to this team and taking up so much payroll. And if you're a guy like Kapler coming into a new team, that going in. And how you approach that, I'll have no idea, knowing that, okay, I have to play these guys. Ownership's on me. They are taking up a big chunk of our salary. So you got to keep Gabe Kapler right now. I guess I'll start at Kapler before we get to Farhan. You got to keep Kapler's results this year in perspective, because pretty much people are getting on his usage of the bullpen for obvious reasons after last weekend. He went back to Trevor Gott on Saturday after he coughed up that was a monumental meltdown.
Friday was not a safe situation too.
No, it wasn't. And he kept him out there, and shit hit the fan. And then the following night, it was almost like a little vote of confidence to him, like, hey, get back out there and right the ship. And it didn't happen. But once he started getting hit around a bit, everybody on the Twitter sphere out there started asking, well, why did you take him out? Why don't you go to somebody else? At that point, especially Saturday, Tony Watson had already pitched. Who do you go to in that position? Like, the whole entire bullpen, I don't think they spent a dime on the bullpen coming into the year. You had Watson, who I believe was already under contract, and Gott, who was on the team last year and had some club control. The entire bullpen right now, and we talk about every episode how they don't have roles. This is basically the River Cats bullpen from last year, and they just said, fuck it, we're moving them up. We don't have the money to toss around to at anybody else because it's anchored down by the players we talked about a minute ago. So you just can't hammer him right now for these late game meltdowns, because really there is no answer. There's no right answer. Like, he can do shit. Sometimes it's going to work. Sometimes it's not, because these guys don't have roles. And, as much as we like to believe that we are in the moment, we're not experts. We don't know how fucking good Wandy Peralta is and Caleb Berriger and Rico Garcia and Derek. Well, we know how bad Derek Rodriguez is, but yeah, like, there's just not much we can really go off of and not much to judge him on. And I think we have to keep that in perspective, even though it's hard in the moment.
Well, I wanted to preface this, and that's fine. We could the order, whatever. We can start with Kapler.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I just want to remind, if you're new or whether you've been listening, we are not experts. We are just fans, like most of you are. We've just been following this team for well over 20 years now. And so these are literally just opinions of ours. And we're very opinionated. If you follow us on Twitter, you know that. My thing on Kapler, I think I'm in the same boat with you. Ultimately, yes, he gets a pass for this year. There's no way, and we see it nightly. They need to fire Kapler, blah, blah, blah. I've even seen people saying, imagine if Bochy was here. Well, guess what? Bochy with kind of the same roster the last couple years, how did that go? Not very good. It didn't matter. So, I would blame largely the problems, like you said, for this team, at least thus far, and it's probably going to continue for the next 37 games, on the roster. The roster sucks. And so it's kind of like we were talking beforehand. You could almost argue that before this last series against the A's, that they were almost overachieving. Mm-hmm. And so, and we've mentioned it before, I think Kapler's adjustments in the offensive side with the lineup, he's made moves. The offense has been fine. It's been fine.
Against lefties.
Yes. But I'm speaking from an overall perspective. They've done enough,
right?
Especially with what they have. Now, regarding the starting pitching, up and down, but not horrible. You get guys like Kevin Gausman coming in on a 1-year deal, and for the most part, he's been pretty good. Johnny Cueto's been, I would say, on the better side of pretty good. Then Samardzija, not good, gets hurt. Smiley gets hurt, was looking okay before that. So
right,
he's kind of having to figure things out on the fly, like everybody else is. But also, then it gets down to the bullpen, and obviously this is the kryptonite of this team. They've been bad, and we were pretty optimistic last week. We thought, hey, Trevor Gott's looked good. Maybe this is our closer for the next couple years at least.
But he was like 5 out of 5 at that point, right? I mean,
True.
that's not a big sample. It's
true. And then, he's getting used to save situations.
Sure.
Friday, he gets brought in, not a safe situation, blows the lead. Kapler goes back to him the next night on Saturday. Safe situation.
Isn't it amazing though how, because we watch baseball forever, when you bring closers, okay, with God, I'm going to say closer.
Yeah.
Closers into situations where it's not a safe situation, it's amazing how much different they look. And then
it's all right here in the head, man.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I'm talking the greats, the Rob Nens, the Mariano Rivera's, guys like that, Trevor Hoffman. Like if you look over the years, it obviously didn't happen that much, but I could always see it. It's like, man, Aroldis Chapman, that's another one right now. They bring him in just to get some work because the Yankees be killing people sometimes, and he looks like shit. Craig Kimbrell too.
I'll tell you what.
Over the years,
I am by any means not comparing anything, but because I was a very average baseball player, probably below average come high school. But I pitched a lot late in games, and Robbie and I were on the same high school team. I pitched late in games when someone retired. I would say I was like maybe part of the closing committee. I would say
you were.
And when you come in and it's a 1 or 2 run game, dude, you're locked in. Your adrenaline's running. You're excited. You may throw 1 or 2 miles an hour harder than you usually do, which for me was probably 73, 74 back then. But my point is, and then say Friday, for instance, you bring a Trevor Gott in a non-save op, it's not there. It's not.
This shit wasn't pumping. It wasn't.
No, and it's like, oh, I got a 5-run lead. And that, yes, that's on him. It's on him, but
he's out there doing it.
It's just difficult. And to bring it back so we stay on topic, has Kapler made some questionable pitching decisions? Absolutely. You can't deny that. He's pulled Cueto early, twice so far this year?
Oh, yeah.
Cueto's been
we haven't even gotten to that yet. We haven't even gotten there yet.
Yeah, and then obviously, was it the last start with Gosman?
In LA.
He was in LA. 80 pitches. He had thrown his last pitch hit 99 on the gun, I think, 98, 99.
Yeah, he gave up like 2 hits or something like that. Had like 8 strikeouts. Yeah.
Pulled him. Shit unravels after that. So it's, I'll say this. He needs some serious, work and knowledge on how to handle the rotation. But we have to factor into, like you've said, it's not a great roster, especially with the
who
pitching.
They got. Yeah,
exactly. And B, this year you kind of just gotta just let it happen and
gotta eat it.
I'll tell you what, if it happens next year, and I'm hoping there's some other new names on this roster, and it happens again, and he's struggling with the rotation, then it's maybe a little time you say, hey, we might want to go in a different direction with this. But ultimately, Robbie and I are saying back off of Kapler at least for the rest of this year.
And the other thing is too, and this isn't just for Kapler, I mean, this is for all the managers out there right now. The 3-batter rule. I mean, that's a huge adjustment right now.
I wanted to get into that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure, yeah, that's a huge adjustment for every manager out there, and I don't think I've seen anybody yet, look like, okay, they kind of know what they're doing here with this, because I mean, you're kind of just shooting darts and hoping that, okay, we need one out here, lefty versus lefty. He gets this guy out. We don't have to bring him back out the next inning, because if he ends the inning, he can be done. Oh shit, guy gets a hit. Now you got, your soft throwing crafty lefty pitching to Aaron Judge or something like that, and now you're fucked. No,
it's huge because you have to factor in that now on top of a matchup decision. So, and then you have to also think of, this guy has to face 3 batters. So he's probably minimally throwing 10 to 15 pitches. Did he throw the night before? Obviously we've ran into that issue with this
Rogers.
Yeah. So, which by the way, he petrifies me whenever a lefty comes up just because of the trajectory of the ball coming down. But anyways, yeah, you have to absolutely factor in the 3-batter rule. All managers, there's nobody with proven experience on this rule. Everybody is learning to deal with the bullpens on the fly and with that new rule. And a lot of it has to do with, hey, do I have a good bullpen or not? And so
then the Giants
remember that. Just remember that. Yeah. So we're going to move on to the general manager perspective, which technically for the Giants, Scott Harris is the general manager and
Right.
Farhan is the VP of operations. But Farhan is kind of the master behind all the decisions, the mastermind behind all the decisions and transactions, trades, free agency, draft. So he gets a lot of the pub.
Right.
I'll let you start off because you start off with Kapler. So I'll let you start off on your thoughts on Farhan, and then I'll kind of go into more of just not a ton, but a little bit of his history and kind of bring in what he's done so far. So Rob, give us your thoughts on Farhan at this point.
Okay, well, again, when Farhan got here, he inherited a team with awful contracts. Now we know it. I didn't even, just a few minutes ago, I didn't even mention Buster Posey. I mean, that's another guy, like, he's going to be on the books through next year. And, we love him and everything, of course, but he's got a massive salary as well. But Farhan knew all this when he got here. And I think this coming into this year, I think this was the year we were going to really get to see, what he was thinking for not really this year, but the next 2 years, like what he had planned. Like, he had every intention of flipping guys like Gossman and Smiley for prospects at the deadline. Every intention to do it. He still might. I mean, not Smiley, of course, but that's when you hear fans on Twitter. So I'm calling out Twitter a lot tonight, but when they get mad over shit like, oh, you couldn't give Madison Bumgarner this, but you rather go out and sign guys like Kevin Gossman and Drew Smiley and Hunter Pence and blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God. Like, no, that Kevin Gossman, I mean, it might happen because he's looked so good, and the situation's changed. But, Kevin Gossman, like, he wasn't going to win us a World Series. And that was never the plan. Just like Drew Smiley. Drew Smiley's had more surgeries on his arm last 3 years than almost anybody. But he came back last year, looked okay with Philadelphia, and Farhan said, no, we need a lefty because the Giants don't have any lefties, by the way. That start. I mean, so he filled a need. Now they're throwing out 5 righties in a row, and I think that's part of the problem as well right now.
Doesn't help.
It doesn't help. But yeah, so Smiley had a role for what they were doing this year, but no, like he wasn't going to be some mainstay in this rotation moving forward. So people just gotta I almost like 76ers because they're on TV right now, but you gotta kind of trust the process with them a little bit. And yeah, even a guy like Hunter Pence that he went in and signed. Okay. He sucks right now, and he's never going to be good again. But, the guy did hit 19 home runs last year, so they're probably thinking, okay, we'll just play him as lefties, and that's all he does.
And he's making $3 million.
He's making no money.
Yeah, and we're critical of him, trust me, and him being in the lineup and taking away ABs from young guys. But Pence is not at the top of our list of complaints.
But at least he's a guy that you could see what the plan was with him when they signed him. At least I could, and you could. Yeah, they're going to sign him. Maybe he continues his solid bat from last year, and then they could trade him with somebody who might actually need a fourth outfielder going into the playoffs. But again, those scenarios have changed, and I don't really know how the deadline's going to work. It's like at the end of August, right?
It's August 31st.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't know how any of that's going to work right now, and then people keep calling for to start calling up prospects and stuff, and I want to see them too, but they're thinking, guys like Farhan and Scott Harris, you can tell that they really take that, okay, if we wait it out, we're not going anywhere. We can wait it out and have them for 6 years starting next year of flow control, or 5 years, instead of losing a year this year because we know we suck. And I know people want to see Bart and Ramos and Hunter Bishop and all these guys, and again, so do I. But he's playing the long game. You had the Phillies this last week called Alec Baum, who's a stud. Their number 1 pick from a couple years ago. The Tigers just today just called up Mize.
Yeah.
Casey Mize. And I mean, honestly, I don't know what Detroit's doing. I never know what Detroit's doing, but yeah, but you're seeing it. Oh, and the Cubs called up Nico Horner a couple weeks ago, their top pick from a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Giants fans are calling for Bart and everything, and me too. I want to see him, but they're playing the long game right now, and
the long game,
long game, and people forget how bad the Astros were for so long, and just stacked up all those picks, and now they have all these first rounders that make up their entire lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And really it sucks to go through it as a fan, but that's what they're approaching right now. And it's just unfortunate that you're not going to get 3-4 months of production from guys like Smiley and Pence and Gosman, because over that, and Cueto for that matter, because I think he's on the list to get shipped out too. Don't quote me on that, but
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Because I do want to talk about that.
But yeah, like it just sucks when you make those 1-year deal signings, and like Wilmer Flores too, I'll throw him in there, and Donovan Solano. These guys who are up there, who've been around a while, like these are all guys that are meant to bring in more pieces. That's why they're here, and it's just going to be tougher to do this year with such a small, window of production instead of the April, May, June, July that we would have got before. So now, I mean, good luck being a GM at this trade deadline coming up, because I don't know how that's going to work.
Nobody
Maybe
does.
You do.
It's unique.
Yeah, I mean, unprecedented.
It is. I will start off by saying this. If you've followed me on Twitter, I am a huge Farhan apologist. Like Robbie is.
Nothing to apologize for yet.
Exactly, that's true. But when I think of Farhan, I think of, like you said, long play. He's thinking big picture. His resume says that herself. He started off in the A's organization, back when, and kind of learned under Billy Beane the whole Moneyball thing. He loves the whole Moneyball scheme. And then when he got to LA, it kind of really showed. He knew what he was doing. The LA, you can argue, has been the best overall talented team going on 6-7 years now.
Got a little money to work with too.
Had money, exactly.
After they threw the McCourts out
and
got rid of those contracts.
Correct. And the Giants, they're not as flexible yet as the Dodgers were. And you got to think, the guys that the Dodgers have up now: Seager, Bellinger, why am I drawing a blank on everybody? Of course, when the spotlight's on
Max
me right
Muncy.
now. Muncy. Well, he was brought in, but what I'm talking about is the guys.
I mean, just a cast off.
But also, known him from the A's days.
Right.
And then, you got your young guys. You got your Urias and your Dustin May. These guys were all Will Smith. These guys were all, and then who's Gavin Lux, who's just waiting, ready to go, and will probably produce right away. And who came up yesterday? What's his name? Keibert,
yep. And
yeah,
I mean, people don't realize, especially now because he plays for a bad team, he's not getting the exposure. Alex Vertigo was a very good player. They used him to get Mookie Betts.
Yes, and again, yeah. So point is, majority of those guys homegrown, well drafted, and Farhan knows what he's doing, what he's scouting for in regards to that. But the point is, with the Giants, I think what he's doing here, and you can see in the last he's had 2 drafts now with the Giants.
Yep.
What was that? 2, yeah.
2 drafts. Yep.
So he's loading up on position guys. Okay, contracts are going to be out in the next couple years. I really see, this is a simple cliche, opinion, but Farhan's bringing up position guys through his own farm system, and I really think in a year or two, he's going to bring in free agent arms and combine those together. And this team could be, I'm not saying, elite, but I think the Giants are going to be competing to get into the playoffs by 2022. I really do believe that.
I agree. And was it 2 drafts ago? I'm not sure if it was I think it was the Joey Bart draft where
18, yeah.
Yeah.
Or 19, I'm sorry.
19, yeah. And they No, wait, Bart was 18 because last year was 19 and he played for San Jose last year.
Yes.
But it was Farhan's first draft 2 years ago where they took position players, their first like 10 picks. No pitchers. No pitchers.
Yes. Correct.
Like, I mean, they just loaded up on guys. And I felt like right there he was sending a message to the fans saying, hey, when these contracts are up, we're gonna have dudes ready to go. Yeah. Or that's at least the plan. I mean, things can happen. They can get traded for bigger pieces, of course.
The everyday players are homegrown and will bring in some arms. And there are some big-time names. We won't go into it today, but I think really in the offseason, we'll really jump onto possible guys get brought in, traded for. But there's some big names that are going to be free agents pitching-wise the next year or two.
And that's
the Giants will have money to spend on.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be their philosophy. Their philosophy is, and they've changed the dimensions, at Oracle, which is, I'll admit now, it's starting to look like a bit of a hitter's park.
Okay, because I did ask you that like 2 weeks ago. I said no. It's starting to.
It's starting to.
The A's love it.
Yeah, no shit. But I think their philosophy is, we're going to develop hitters, but we know, we can get pitchers to come here.
Absolutely.
With that money. Now, we'll see what happens, moving forward, but I think that's the end game plan, to just keep developing, these hitters. And like we were just saying, we want to see him, we want him up, we're eager, we're excited for it, but they're not even thinking about this year, guys. Like, they're not. And every night you hop on Twitter and all these people are just ranting and, all caps,
bitching.
Fire Farhan, fire Kapler. What the fuck am I watching? And I think that too sometimes when I watch the Giants. But at least, like, I told one of these kids the other night on their
kids.
Like, yeah. And I'm like, hey, when you're the fan of an awful team, you have, and that you have to meet them halfway. You can't be like, okay, I know they suck, but I expect them to play well. That makes no fucking sense.
And a lot of that does play into what I call 2010 fans. They're spoiled. So, the newer fans the newer fans that have been around for 10, maybe 11 years, they got really spoiled right off the bat. And, they're going on their – well, at 16, they were still good, made wild card, almost beat the Cubs that year. They were
real good that year. They just sucked second half.
But this is the fourth year in a row where they've struggled. Yeah. They're not good at all. And so, fans are impatient. And, well, Robbie and I have said this for quite a few years now, since they won their third, even their first, but namely their third is, we're spoiled. We only wanted to see one World Series title in our lifetime. We've gotten to see 3. And what are they doing, Rob? They're still paying the piper.
They are.
That's okay.
And I mean, it sucks because you kind of know, hindsight's 20/20, of course, but when you gather this following and all these, I hate to call them all bandwagon fans because that's what happens when you win. You get more fans.
Most fans are bandwagon fans.
Sure, most they are. Yeah, let's be real. They are. But yeah, like when you are selling all these panda hats and all these baby giraffe hats and this and that and let Timmy smoke shirts and like they became such a brand and that's what happens when you win all these championships. And so of course when they're sitting around that little table that I assume they all sit at when they're talking about contracts, they're like, well, look at what this guy's done. The fans love him. Like, are we really not going to pay this guy for what he's done? Even though they pay for the Giants got in trouble paying guys for what they did and not what they're going to do.
Yeah. And you have to factor that in as well.
And that's a huge issue, and not just the Giants. I mean, every team does that when they win championships, unless it's the Patriots. But it's true.
But I want to sum up because I do want to move on because we're going long here. But let's sum up Farhan here. 2 years ago, when Bobby Evans was let go, and they brought in Farhan. I don't have the exact ranking in front of me, but we know that the Giants farm system was currently
Dead last,
27, 28, 29,
Whoa.
30, somewhere in there. They were in the bottom 5 for sure. As of today, according to MLB.com, the Giants ranked 10th in the farm system.
That's good.
That is all Farhan.
Yeah.
All Farhan.
All Farhan,
So
you're right.
just be patient. And there's a lot of guys in the lower A sector right now that are going to continue to improve and get better. This will be possibly a top 5 to 7 farm system next year.
We hope.
Yes. So moving on, kind of the last part of our State of the Union that we're going to discuss is like Robbie kind of prefaced, the trade deadline's coming up 2 weeks from today, actually. It's weird because it's like you get 5 weeks into the season, boom, trade deadline. Yeah. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It's weird. I also wanted to say this earlier. When it comes to money and contracts and all those things, baseball is the most complex sport, I would say, when it comes to contracts.
Yeah.
So we could go into that stuff. I think in a normal year that would be easier to discuss, as Robbie's drinking his second different beer now.
I told you.
What are you drinking real quick, Rob? What do you got?
Oh, this is a Sierra Nevada Tropical Torpedo.
Nice. Sierra Nevada, good choice.
Just getting in the mood for tonight's game.
But yeah, I kind of want to talk on the current roster. And again, I talked about this off air. We don't have to go over every player, but I think there are some certain guys that I do want to discuss. And I think we should start off with, I would say, the old guys, quote unquote, who have been around for a while or have been brought back. Pablo Pence, guys like that. I want to start off with an interesting one because we're kind of mixed on him. I think, at least I am, about like production. He's still not a bad player, but he is a lot of money, and that's Evan Longoria. So obviously traded for a couple years ago. He's making 15 this year, 18.5 next year, 19.5 in 2022 when he'll be 36. And then there's a club option in 2023 for 13 mil, which I'd say there's a very good chance that he's either traded or not welcome back by that season.
Damn it, Bobby Evans.
Yeah. So, and that was the trade where we got rid of Arroyo too, right?
Which wasn't Christian a huge loss, but still, I mean, this is not worth it. Like,
no, it's
crap.
Not. So, thoughts on Evan Longoria moving forward, real quick? Is he around through the? Obviously, he's probably going to be here through 2022.
Right.
Club option 23. Thoughts on Longoria, real quick?
Well, I don't think it really matters how well he plays. Like, there's just no. I mean, unless the Farhan got the Braves to eat all of Mark Melanson's salary last year. I don't know how he did that. We'll never know.
He's pitching well right now.
That's not good for him, honestly. But I mean, but that contract was just disgusting.
Awful.
And he somehow got the Braves to take that. And and Longoria has never been bad. He's been hurt. But that's what happens when you got older guys up in there who have. Longoria's been playing since we were in high school. He was a rookie when we were in high school. Like that's how long.
Yep.
And
rookie of the year, our senior year.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of those guys right now, and moving forward that he's just gonna be there, and he's making so much money, and he's not bad, but we're just gonna kind of have to assume he's there, like unless something weird happens.
I agree. He's gonna be there. I don't think they're gonna be able to move him. Unless it's maybe in 2022 and he's having an okay year and he can maybe go DH for someone somewhere for a contender. But yeah, agree on Longoria. Next one, the old guys. I'm not even going to talk about Pence and Sandoval because they're not making anything. So they
won't be here either.
They're
gone.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if Hunter Pence retires after this year, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think Pablo still continues to play. For cheap somewhere, maybe DHs is a spot start guy, even though it's a pitcher's term. But Brandon Crawford, 15.2 this year, 15.2 next year. Here's what a lot of people don't know. He's got a full no trade clause, and I don't know if that really mattered. Like, would he consider that? He's been here a long time. San Francisco's home. He's a Bay Area guy. So in case you don't know, and that's fine, a full no trade clause means you could be accepted in a trade with any team in baseball. And if Brandon Crawford says, nope, I don't want to go there, the trade is void, straight up.
Right.
So he's on the books for quite a bit of money through next year. He would be an unrestricted free agent in 2022. Brandon Crawford, obviously going to be here the rest of this year. Is he going to be here the rest of next year and or beyond?
I think he will, but I don't think it's going to be because of lack of effort on Farhan and Scott Harris's part of trying to move him, because I mean there's a lot of dudes coming through right now for the Giants, and I just don't he can barely play against righties. Like, it's hard to watch him play, and I don't know, like, maybe they can maybe coerce him, or is that the right word, in a retirement at the end of this year. Like, I don't know if it's legal or or what, but if they can almost pay him to go away. But if they don't do that, I don't see him leaving the Bay Area, because like you just said, it's fully his call, and at this point, who would really want him?
And the thing is, and I agree, I don't think that, I don't even throw him into the Longoria category for me personally, which is, hey, maybe at the deadline of the last year of his guaranteed the contract, he can maybe go to a contender or whatever. I just don't see anybody wanting to take. What does Crawford provide now? He can't hit anymore. He was never a great hitter anyways. He had a little spurt a few years ago where he became a respectable hitter.
He had a little power.
He's known for his glove. His gloves, it's just above average now. He used to be, you can consider for 4 or 5 years, the best shortstop in baseball defensively.
Because he was.
And and he's not anymore. So what does he provide? He's quiet. I hate this term. He's probably a great locker room guy, probably a great teammate. Who knows because he's 33 right now, so he's obviously on the downtrend. And the thing with the Giants too, which sucks, is, and he's still in the lower part, but when you think of the guys in the farm system, many people think of Joey Bart, they think of Heliot Ramos, Hunter Bishop, like you just said.
Patrick Bailey.
Patrick Bailey, the guy they just drafted, who's a catcher, when Joey Bart probably moves to first in a couple of years. Yep. But in a lot of rankings, the number one Giants prospect is Marco Luciano. He's a shortstop.
And he's a kid, too.
He is. But he's a shortstop, and he is projected to be a really good baseball player. I won't go into details here.
He's got that A-Rod build to him. Like, he's going to be a big shortstop.
Yeah.
If and when that happens.
A Carlos Correa. Yeah. So
Omar.
Yeah. So, there's no way he's going to be here after next year. Speaking of Crawford.
Impossible.
But I agree. He's here through next year. They're not going to be able to move him. I can see him being signed to a 1-year deal in 2022 and get an invite to spring training and try and make a team somewhere and spot start. Again, I use that term. But
the only hope would be if a guy like if like Gleyber Torres or a guy like that got hurt.
Sure. Right, and they want an old, reliable guy that who's you're going to get.
Yeah, or like Didi Gregorius on Philly. Plus, somebody like that.
Gosh dang it, Rob, because, Crawford's left-handed. You put him in the little box in New York, maybe he can pop out 10 to 15 home runs.
And just play out his contract, the rest of the year. I mean, that's the only way. That's really the only way.
I agree. I 100% agree. So the last of, I would say, this core group that we're talking about, I know Longoria wasn't here for the World Series years, but we're going to talk about our favorite player, Brandon Belt. And obviously, I mean that sarcastically. Belt making 17.2 this year, 17.2 next year, but he is a free agent in 2022. So, I will say this. He's 32 now. I feel like if Bobby Evans was still around, the Giants would find a way to keep Brandon Belt around for another like 2 years after the end of this contract. That's just me. Thank God he's not.
I would hope not.
Thank God he's not.
You're
Well,
probably right.
Farhan obviously takes pride in his farm system. You know, we still have that guy named is Chris Shaw still down there somewhere? I mean,
yeah, I think he's in the Sacramento,
training camp.
Yeah, alternate site league association of America or whatever it is. I don't know. Sorry.
But the thing is too is now here's my opinion on this. Unlike Crawford, Belt does not have he's got a modified no trade clause. I don't know the list. I don't even think I can bring it up here of the teams that he says, hey, you're not trading me there.
Belt's special list.
Yeah, but which I don't even know why he has a modified no trade clause. But now Belt, I can see possibly getting moved next year. I can see this happening. 17.2 next year. So by the time the deadline comes, I mean, you're paying a little less than half of that. So you'd be getting Brandon Belt services for under $7 million for the rest of the year, which is not a ton of money. Here's the thing. He's always had a pretty darn good glove over at first base.
Always.
He can play first base.
No doubt about it.
Another good thing is, and obviously it's not consistent. Belt's one of the more streaky guys we've ever seen, but he can hit for power.
Yeah, you say that
again. But, kind of like you just said with Crawford, but, someone gets hurt on the Yankees or the Phillies or
somebody good.
Somebody good gets hurt. Yeah, on a good team. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Sorry. I could see Brandon Belt maybe getting moved at the deadline next year. To a contender and playing out the rest of the year and maybe trying to get another year extension or something with him because he is a free agent in 2022. What do you think of Brandon Belt?
Well, same thing. Like, I don't think he's going to be gone unless something along those lines happens. But the one team I've had circled for the last few years, and that's because they haven't really addressed first base in a while. They've kind of been plugging dudes in there. Like, for instance, Daniel Murphy's playing there now, is the Colorado Rockies.
Oof, yeah.
Because if Daniel Murphy has been hurt quite a bit in his career, we know this. And if something were to happen to him, I mean, I'm not hoping he gets hurt or anything, but like if he got hurt like tomorrow or before the deadline, like what? If I'm Farhan, I'm calling a team like the Rockies, who has plenty of pop. I mean, they don't need his pop. He can hit 6
and they're playing well this year.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
So now matters.
They're good. Yeah. And if they lose Daniel Murphy, would they be willing to take on Belt for a year and a half? And because if Murphy gets hurt again, who knows if he'll even come back after that, because I mean he's been through the grinder. But it's got to be a team like that. I don't think he would thrive in Wrigley. I was saying if guys got hurt, and a desperate team needed a first baseman, because I guarantee you Farhan is the type of guy, he's looking at that shit and Anthony Rizzo or Reese Hoskins or somebody like that gets hurt. Freddie Freeman gets hurt. And
I thought the Braves with Freddie Freeman.
I'm like, oh shit, okay, yeah, Belt only has a year and a half left on his contract. I don't know what do you guys think of this year, but this could be your only chance, and pull those Jedi mind tricks that he did last year. Like something like that would have to happen for Belt to get shipped, because I don't even think, other than his experience and his glove and his streaky power, as you so eloquently put it, I don't think anybody looks at him, really. I think he is just he's forgotten, and he's pretty much a lost cause at this point in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, and in regards to, and we'll move on in a sec, but in regards to the Rockies, interdivision team. So I mean, and those are rare. Those are rare moves. I know we wouldn't care. I'm just saying that would be interesting. I obviously you and I would trade Belt for a bucket of nickels, But too, if they were, and again, I think I'd say there's a 50-50 chance next year by the deadline that belt does get moved. I'd say
by
maybe
next
this
year could happen.
This year, there's maybe a 10% chance.
I think something would have to happen. That's what I'm saying. Something would have to happen
because you are taking on 17.2 next year and then prorated this year, which is, I don't know, a few mil. But it would be interesting because the Giants do have alternative options at first base this year. They could put Flores there. He's played there, even though he made a great play the other night, not tagging the bag and then, not get the guy second. But Darren Ruff could play first. Pablo could play first. So they have options there.
And again, what is, for the Giants standpoint, I mean, what does this year even matter? It doesn't.
Nothing.
So
that goes back to what you said about fan favorites, and not ours, obviously, but Belt's been around for, this is, I think, his 10th full year.
He's got 2 rings. Yeah,
he's got 2 rings. It would be a lot of people, a lot of just pure, recent new Giants fans that aren't like everyday followers. They would be upset in losing Brandon Belt, but that's like the only negative I can think from a franchise perspective. So,
yeah, I mean, you can only ride out that 18th inning home run in Washington for so long.
Yeah,
I mean, it was great, and I will never get it. I went fucking nuts, but you just gotta, and that's why I like about Farhan. I think Farhan can convince a team if it were to happen. There's no time like the present. How do you know you're gonna be in this position again next year? And hell, I think that's the type of shit he pulled last year on the Braves. I really do, and the Brewers about Pomeranz. For
true.
DuPont. Yeah, I really think because I don't know how he pulled those trades off, especially with Melanson's salary. I will never. I wish I was there, but I don't know. Interesting.
Well, there's a couple more that I could go through, but one, and I won't even go into this. I'll just touch it. Samardzija, obviously, when they signed him, I was not thrilled at all. He's done after this year. His contract he won't be back. Straight up. If he's back, I'd be shocked, and then I'll take everything nice back I said about Farhan. Now here's an interesting piece, and I think this will cause maybe some controversy on Twitter, which is great because I love the interaction with other people. Donovan Solano, Donnie Barrels. I almost screwed that up. Sorry. 32 years old. Had his 16 game hitting streak ended yesterday.
Right.
Hitting still over 400. Having a great year.
Yeah.
He's making 1.3 this year, which is nothing. Not great on defense, but he's become an everyday bat. That's been enjoyable to watch.
Sure.
He's arbitration eligible for the 3rd level this next year, and then he's an unrestricted free agent in 2022. So,
right.
Basically, if he's here through the rest of the year, probably be back next year. Probably. But
you would assume, but yeah.
Yeah. The whole and again, it's like I said, the whole baseball contract numbers thing is weird because you can go into levels and levels into the weeds about arbitration process.
You can.
I would love to see, and here's the controversial part. I would love to see Donovan Solano get moved in the next 2 weeks. I want to see the Giants trade him.
No, I don't think it's controversial.
Of course you don't, because you and I agree on a lot of things. but again, it goes down. It's controversial too, and it's like I just said on the last one. The fans that are newer, they're younger, or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, this is all I've seen from Donovan Solano is this year," or he even hit some last year for the Giants. Not bad. Yeah, and so they're like, "Why would you trade a guy that's producing?" Well, Robbie, why would you trade a 32-year-old that's producing and he's not getting paid much right now?
Because he will never get better than what he is right now. I mean, Correct. He's at his peak. I mean, and even he would probably tell you that. He's liking your Instagram post because you got happy about him one night. Like that's where he's at in his career. And a team like I'm trying to think of second baseman right now. I should have wrote this shit down. But like, who's playing second base right now for like the Twins?
I have one.
Yeah.
I have one ready. Huh. The Oakland A's.
Sure. There you go.
Tony Kemp. Yeah. I like Tony Kemp, but he's a bench guy.
Yeah.
Like now insert Donovan Solano having a career year into the A's lineup, which
hitting like 7th or 8th.
Which, of course, got going for the Giants this last weekend because It's a great lineup. Robbie and I love the A's. I think they're World Series contenders. I think Robbie does too. Insert Donovan Solano into the A's lineup.
Hitting 7th or 8th.
Yeah. Down there at the bottom.
Not 3rd or 2nd or 5th or 5th. Like, not in a prime spot. Just lurking at the bottom right now.
He's going to get fastballs. He's going to get fastballs.
Yes, and that's why, I'm pissed. I didn't write down team second basemans right now because I can't wing it. But like a team like the Twins or the A's, teams like that, or maybe like maybe the Cubs. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just throwing them out there now. But yeah, I mean, and like Farhan will have to do, like I've been saying, you got to convince these teams that there's no time like the present, and. We're willing to give you this, and he's going to extend your lineup by this much, and he's going to give this guy better pitches to hit, and this guy better pitches to hit, and you got to be able to portray that, and to other GMs, and I think Farhan can do that, and because there's no point in keeping him around here. There just isn't.
Yeah, and I think, and I know we haven't gone too much into numbers on this, which is in this episode, which is fine, but. He's got a 0.6 win above replacements rating right now, which is a WAR. If you don't know what that is,
that's a WAR. Yep.
So, it's not horrible. The thing is, his defense hurts his WAR there, but offensively, he's been as good as almost anybody this year. So
but his natural position is second base. The Giants have played him at third a lot this year, and he sucks at third.
True.
So he's horrible.
That's very true. But, yeah, guy's still hitting 403. He's got 15 ribbies, which he's slowed down recently, but still a good number through this point. 29 hits in 19 games. The dude can hit. And
he's controlled through next year, like you said.
Correct. And so 32 years old, I guess you could say for him, he's still in his prime. So, yeah, I would love to see the Giants be able to move Donovan Solano. And you know what? What would it take? If you gave us a middle-of-the-road prospect that maybe has a high ceiling, but it's not guaranteed, like what they did with Billy Hamilton going to get a Jordan Humphreys, sure, whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah, and
give me all the young guys.
At this point, everything's negotiable. The Giants don't have, outside of their horrible contracts that they got, they're not chained to any of these guys. Like, I mean, if we wanted to, we had the time, we could debate trading Yastrzemski and guys like that. We really could.
Which contractually, and we've discussed this already, but it makes no sense to trade Mike Yastrzemski right now. You don't need to.
No, you don't need to. But
he's not arbitration eligible for a couple of years because he wasn't up until last year.
Right.
So
yeah, you could though. Because the team's horrible and he's an older prospect. But like, I don't know if you have Johnny Cueto on your list there, but.
Here's the thing. I didn't even make a list. I've just been going off of guys that interest me, possible moves. And I have two more that I remember in the back of my head. And I know we're going long now, but I don't care. We'll go to him next. I was going to save him for last, but let's talk Johnny Cueto. Okay. Let me get his specific numbers here. Okay. He's 34 years old. He's had a pretty darn good career.
Oh yeah,
his numbers this year, they don't look fantastic, but he's been good. He's been good. I mean, Johnny Cueto can still start in major leagues.
Yes.
Here's the thing: he's getting paid $21 million this year, which it's prorated, so whatever that is this year. But next year, $21 million again, and then in 2022, he has a club option for $22 million. Here's the thing. I truly think that a team that is missing a number 3 starter, and that could be any contender. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I'll give you're better at this than I am, but I truly think, and I got into a good conversation with our buddy Chris Steven on Twitter yesterday. Great basketball coach, by the way, one of the best high school basketball coaches in the area.
Go Cougars.
Relax. Anyway, hey. I'm kidding. No. Love Chris. Great guy. Great coach. But we started talking about the Giants and moving forward. And I brought up Johnny Cueto, and he said, "You really think that they can move him?" I said, "I absolutely think that Johnny Cueto could be available at this trade deadline, even though he's got one more year of guaranteed pay under his contract."
That's what I'm talking about.
I think personally that Johnny Cueto should be the Giants' number one piece that they could move this year because of what he still can do. I think if you trade him to a team, like I said, he could be a great number 3, maybe even a 2 on some teams.
I think he could be a 2.
Yeah.
The way the game was played now, he could be a 2.
He's under contract through next year. He'd be 35, but if he stays healthy, you're guaranteed a pretty damn good starter through next year. And then, hey, he pitches great again next year. You could either move him again, or in 2022, he's got that club option you could pick up. Right. Probably not going to pay a 36-year-old $22 million. That's, who knows how he's going to be thrown at the time. But anyways, I would love to see if the Giants – because I said this to Chris, I think depending on the team, I think the Giants could get like a 3rd to 5th ranked prospect in an organization for Johnny Cueto. That may be high, but I think it depends on who he's going to. If he goes to, a team that is competing but has a great farm system, like it sucks because they're in the division. I doubt it. But, dude, if you traded him to like the Padres,
use
another starter. But they have plenty of depth still in that farm system. I think we could yank one of their, maybe not top guy, but one of their top guys.
Okay.
Twins too, maybe the Twins. They need an arm, and that's a team that is, ready probably to contend this year. I don't think they will, but they could. If they got to the World Series, it wouldn't surprise me. And I've said, I think you said it. If the Twins got a starter and or added more to the pen, that team could contend right now. And another year under control, maybe the Twins for Johnny Cueto. What do you think?
Well, I like the Twins because we had talked about it earlier, and it's about the way the game is played now. Like, Cueto has been lights out through 5 through 6. For almost all of the starts except the one in Colorado, I want to say.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been excellent, and that's the way the game's played now. And Cueto don't like it from what we've been told, what we've heard. He don't like the pitch count. Like, I'm still good, I can keep going, but I mean,
he probably wants out anyways.
Yeah, well, I was going to get to that. I mean, who the hell wants to play for a bad? Why would a great pitcher want to play for a bad team? But yeah, anyway, like, you want to talk about what the Twins are doing. Like, they got the Rich Hills and the Kenta Maedas of the world right now, and that's all they do. I mean, that's the plan with those guys. Throw 5.
Get to the 6.
Throw 6. That Dobnik guy they called up, that's what he's doing. Outside of Jose Barrios, that's what they're doing. And the other team actually I have 2 other teams, but the team I've talked about a couple weeks ago, and I think Farhan could possibly fleece this team. You're talking 3rd through 5th ranked prospect in that area. I think the team they could do that with would be the Cubs. Because the Cubs they're on that cusp right now to where they got their core guys, they're hanging on, their starting pitching's like Yu Darvish having a great year, Hendricks, Alec Mills has had a hot start, but you can't really rely on that. That's where I think he would fit in great. And John Lester, I can't forget about John Lester.
Yeah,
but yeah, like, that team has the farm and Farhan can maybe convince them that he is the key when they get into a best of 7, best of 5 series. Like, you put Cueto in there with Hendricks and a hot Darvish or even a Lester. I mean, that's 4 very, very good starters.
And for a team, like you said, that they're kind of in an odd spot because they have their guys. They have their guys like Bryant and Rizzo and Schwarber. But Baez is going to be their dude going for. They're going to invest in long term if they already haven't. I forgot his current contract, but yeah, they have their core, like you said. They're kind of in. They're in limbo, and I think the Cubs have kind of overachieved this year, but I'm kind of bought into them where I think that maybe they could compete. Especially the Brewers are just now starting to play okay. The Cubs could win that division, and who knows if they add another arm to that experienced lineup. that could be a huge boost in them actually, maybe winning an NL pennant.
Right. And the other team who I didn't really factor in at the beginning of the year, but after Soroka went down, the Braves. That's huge. That's a tough park for any pitcher. But I mean, I don't see Max Fried being your top line starter when it's time to go. That's all. Or maybe he is, but you need a solid number 2 if that's the case.
And the Braves, the eighth ranked farm system right now.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
So they have the young dudes to do it. So
it's possible.
That's by far been my most fun player to talk about, Johnny Cueto, because I think
there's so many options.
The options there for the Giants in particular could be really good, especially moving forward if they were bringing a young guy to go with their already young guys. That could be the move that puts them into the top 5 rankings for a farm system.
Right.
So
didn't even mention the Yankees. Didn't even mention them.
Yeah.
They could afford him.
The last guy I want to talk about, and this is kind of a wild card. And again, I know we're going long, but I really wanted to get your thoughts on Kevin Gausman. 29 years old.
Yeah.
His ERA is not great, 4.21. It's okay. It's kind of about his career average. He's been like a 4 ERA guy. But 34 strikeouts, 5 walks. He's thrown strikes.
Right.
He's healthy right now. He's throwing hard right now. And like I said, I feel like he's been around forever, but he's only 29, so he's in his prime right now. And
he was an Oriole for a while. That's why
he was.
That's why you kind of losing the shuffle a little bit.
Very straightforward, simple contract. The Giants signed him 1 year this year, $9 million. I don't know if you want to go first, but I have my thoughts on this, and it would wrap it up quick. So I'll let you go ahead with Kevin Gausman.
Okay, well, my basis on this is the Giants aren't very good. So they have a guy right now who is valued as an asset to a good team. And we're just talking right now, this is the best he's ever looked. I'm not saying you just give him away just to get a Jordan Humphreys type prospect, because I'm not doing that with him. Because like you say, he's only 29, but dude, that fool's on the table right now. He is a chip in all these teams that need pitching, because when you have a guy that we can clearly see is overachieving, or compared to what he's done before.
Sure.
I mean, he is overachieving to what our expectations. Like he's throwing the ball hard. He had 11 strikeouts Saturday night against the A's. I know the league strikes out now like crazy, but man, like it's
a lot of strikeouts.
That's a lot of strikeouts in 5 2/3 or where the hell he threw. So yeah,
11.9 strikeouts per 9 innings right now for Gausman. That's really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not saying you just give him away because we suck and that's what we're doing, but no, you put him on the table though. Like if somebody calls you about Gausman, you don't hang up. You take that call, and because the team in the American League, and he's pitching in the American League, is the Indians. The Indians are the team that teams know they have to match up with, pitching wise. That's why I threw out the Yankees a minute ago.
Yeah.
The Indians got pitchers for days, and so I can see a team in the American League thinking we need another arm, even if he's just a 3 or even a 4 in their eyes. But if Kevin Gausman is your 3 or 4 the way he's pitching right now, I mean, you're looking pretty good in a best of 7. So I mean, we're talking the A's, the Twins, the Rays, the Yankees. Those are teams that are going to have to compete with the Indians in a best of 7. So yeah, but you got to do your due diligence about the farm system and everything, and make sure you're not getting lowballed.
Here's my thing. I agree. You listen, and this may be our first disagreement, I think, here on the podcast. Now hear me out. Hear me out on this. I am not saying the Giants need to make Kevin Gausman a long-term priority. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in what I said earlier with with the realization of and the belief in Farhan's bringing up everyday players. I think he's going to go sign arms, especially like the pre-mentioned, big contracts are going to be gone. Samar's is off the books next year.
Right.
What if they move Johnny Cueto? He's off the books next year. I really think the Giants, first of all, they should not just let Gosman go for nothing.
No, that's the last thing you can do.
That's the worst thing you can do. But
worst case scenario.
Here's where I disagree with you. I think they should prioritize in bringing him back next year.
Like make that top priority.
One of them. And here's my thing. And like I said, this is why, hear me out. I think Kevin Gosman, if he continues to pitch, and again, we're not saying he's been the best pitcher in baseball, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
No.
He's been good. 29 years old.
I look forward to his starts.
Exactly. I think he's worth like 3 years, $45 million. If the Giants can give him $15 million a year, and you bring in new arms, like even you bring in one big name arm in a middle of the road arm in the next 2 years, and say Logan Webb pans out, he ends up being a pretty damn good starter. Kevin Gosman could be your 4 starter for $15 million a year. And because I don't think that I don't know. I just think his trade value is still right now because of maybe his past.
It is
But I would like to see the Giants hold on to Gosman for maybe a 3-year deal, and be part of the rotation the next few years. I'm not saying go give him 5 or 6 years, but maybe 3 with a club option in the 4th or something like that, because you're getting him in his prime right now. I think he stayed healthy pretty much for the most of his career. So I say invest in Kevin Gosman.
Well, I mean, it's worth discussing and talking about, because if there is one downfall to the Giants farm system right now, it is it's arms, and it's not bad. Like Seth Corey's a lefty, and he's come up, and Sean Hagelli, who's like 6. What I think I had it here a second ago. Yeah, that dude's 6'11". Yeah. I mean, so they got some interesting prospects down there, but. No, like he would have to, for me, he would have to continue, what he's doing the rest of the way to sit down and make that kind of offer when you're a team in a rebuild mode, because then we're thinking, he could maybe pitch this way till he's 32 ish, and
3 years,
but it's not something I would at this point make a top priority, because, we just haven't really seen it,
sure,
to that extent yet. So no, these next 6 weeks are going to be huge for Gosman for sure. But
the deadline's in 2 weeks, so these next 2 starts are huge. I mean, what if he shows out again?
True.
If he's really good and Farhan's phone's ringing off the hook. I'm not saying like you said. I'm not saying you answer every phone call on Kevin Gosman and you listen.
Hell yeah.
Because someone may have smoked a joint that day, or it's the Atlanta Braves and they want to, just make
they had him last year.
So
they had him last year. So I mean,
they want to bring him back, and there's your arm that could maybe push them back over the top, and they make a run in October. But yeah, I like Kevin Gosman. I would like to see if the Giants can maybe hold on to him for a few years.
Hey, if he keeps doing what he's doing right now, then yeah, you sit down with him at the end of the year and you're talking.
Work something out. Yeah.
But if somebody makes you an offer you really can't refuse here in the next couple weeks, I think you gotta play the odds and let him go.
Robbie, any closing thoughts on this episode? Just sum up your thoughts.
Just I'm a Sacramento Kings fan. We both are. And Kangs cat shout out. But so I've been used to being told, please be patient, please be patient, please be patient. And I'm trying to tell Giants fans this time, especially the ones on Twitter, please be patient, because this wasn't going to be the year. Next year's not going to be the year, and probably not the year after that, to be totally real with you. But guys, I think jury's still out on Kapler. Let's be real, but I think Farhan and Scott Harris really know what they're doing here, and you just gotta, for lack of a better phrase, trust the process a little bit. I think it's gonna turn around here, but it's just gonna take time.
I agree. Be patient. Trust in Farhan. I've done hashtag trust in Farhan a few times in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, you have.
His resume proves it. Let him continue to build the farm system. Bring in arms via free agency. This team can be. I think they could be pretty good in 2 years. I'm not saying win the division, be better than the Dodgers. I'm not saying compete for World Series. I think this could be a wild card contending team in 2022.
Get to a 162 game season where they're not playing the Dodgers every other series and the A's and the Rockies and the Padres every other series, literally every other series. they are playing these teams, and so it's not a fair assessment at this point. It's just not. Life's not fair, but this really isn't a fair assessment right now of Farhan and Kapler and these guys. It's just not.
Yeah, and with this current season schedule, like you just said, the AL West is no pony show either.
Fuck, no.
You got the A's and the Astros, and I'm not saying like starting tonight. I don't think the Angels are good at all. In fact, I took money on the under on them this year. I'm feeling pretty good about it. But they have Mike Trout. They can go beat you any night. Because they have
Giants,
him,
let's say that.
They have Mike Trout. They have Anthony Rendon. The Angels they're bad, but they're not horrible.
They're better than the Giants.
The Rangers are 500. I mean, and then there's the Mariners. But the AL West and the NL West, yes, they're two pretty damn good divisions. The Giants happen to be at the bottom echelon of both of them combined. This year was bound to suck with what they have, with who they're playing. Give them a 162-game season next year when they're starting to come up on the rebuild. Like I said, 2022 I think is a good year. I think next year maybe they start showing signs. They beat teams they're supposed to beat. Maybe next year they can aim to be 500. Who knows?
That's baseball. Who knows?
Yeah. That's the beauty of the game. So, make sure you're following us on all our social medias. We've gone really long today, but that's fine. For Say Hey Rob, this is Say Hey Doug. Go Giants.
Go Giants. Don't get swept.